What's up, Multiverse? Dr. Dave here. Welcome to the Geek Lounge and a happy Halloween to one and all. We are a week removed from MCM Comic Con London. If you guys wanted to check out my vlog, there is a link. There'll also be one at the end of this video. And it was at MCM Comic Con London where we added a bunch of new signed Funko Pops to the collection and got some scary good ones. Yeah, that was cheesy AF. I really do apologise, but let me show you guys what I got and I'll talk about my guest interactions too. So let's kick this off with some anime then, and we've got a new signed one into the Naruto Shippuden collection, of which you can see some in behind. This is Kareen, signed by the voice actor Ali Hillis. I went with the quote, "My sexiness will get Sasuke this time," the quote in white and the autograph in red. And Ali was absolutely awesome. She actually apologised for taking so much time with the person that was in front of me, but I was like, no problem. I was actually chatting with her, I don't know, talent agency? I mean, I think that's what they're actually called. It was the husband of the like dual owner of Celebrity Talent Agency. I think that's what they called. They have a bunch of actors, celebrities essentially, right? Who they represent at Comic-Con. So that was quite interesting chatting to him. But yeah, once I got to Ali, I actually had two quotes prepared because I'm always like, I don't know if the guests, like, this quote isn't that crass, but sometimes, you know, the quotes, pardon me, can be a little bit crass. So I'd prepared another one. I can't remember it verbatim, but it was along the lines of like biting me because of course she has these healing powers, and she actually did both lines in the voice, and she was like, yeah, let's do this one, no problem. She finds it super funny because she finds like Kareen not sexy at all. I was like, like she's got like the nerdy look, to be honest. But yeah, as I said, very cool, very chatty. We both shared an amazing disappointment that Funko never made a Dr. Liara to Sony Funko Pop, who she did voice and I believe did the motion capture as well for in the Mass Effect trilogy, one of my favorite gaming series of all time. I've played that so many times. I think I'm on like my third playthrough now of the third game, and I've played the others previously multiple times as well. The only thing I could think of is that the Funko Pops that were made for Mass Effect were around the time that Mass Effect 2 came out, and Liara, if you guys have played the series, you'll know that she featured heavily in number 1 and 3, not so much in number 2, apart from when that Shadow Broker DLC came out. So I'm guessing that's why she didn't get a pop, but yeah, a little bit weird for such a major mainstay character. But yeah, we both said fingers crossed we will get one day. For my Hunter x Hunter collection, we now have Shaunark, signed by the voice actor Griffin Burns. I went with a quote, I guess I can put him on autopilot there. I met Griffin maybe 2 years ago, I think it was, MCM Comic Con Birmingham, where I got my Muichiro Tokito signed from Demon Slayer. But Shaunark hadn't released at that point. I think it had been announced, but yeah, the pop hadn't actually released, so happy to finally get it in. Hunter x Hunter, one of my favourite animes of all time. It kind of skirts between third and fourth. If you guys were wondering, it's One Piece, it's Naruto, and then third and fourth, it's between Hunter x Hunter and Attack on Titan, and then I've honestly not really decided what gets in that coveted 5th position. But yeah, Griffin's cool. As I said, met him before. Lovely guy to talk to. He actually had these like colour pens because I wanted to kind of go with the kind of character's colours, which is kind of like the lilac and then the teal. I don't know if teal's the right, maybe cyan is the right word, the trims of his outfit. And yeah, fortunately he had the correct colour pens because I didn't. But yeah, Griffin, always cool to talk to. We spoke about the Demon Slayer movie. Actually, I should say we spoke about Hunter x Hunter because I always ask any of the Hunter x Hunter voice actors, you know, if it does ever come back, are you game? Everyone says, of course. But Griffin did tell me that he actually dropped the anime about 60 episodes in. And I was like, dude, what, you've like missed the best parts, the Chimera Ant arc, one of the best arcs in all of anime. And he's like, I know, everyone keeps telling me that and I should go back to it, but timing is everything, I suppose, right? Especially when you're working so much. And I think he does get quite a bit of work, to be honest. But yeah, awesome guy. He did actually mention that he is going to be in the Stranger Things animated series. I honestly hadn't even heard they were making an animated series. I did check before filming this that it had actually been announced and I wasn't causing him any issues. But yeah, it got announced a little while ago and I was like, oh, okay, just don't remember that. But yeah, he's going to be voicing a character. He didn't say which character. I think he's only in 3 of the episodes, but something very much to look forward to. And that wasn't the only Hunter x Hunter Funko Pop I got signed last weekend. We also have Mucky signed by Abby Trott. I went with the quote, "I'll chase you to the ends of the earth and kill you." I don't know if it's necessarily her most famous quote, but prominent, I think, is the correct word. I mean, I don't know, maybe famous is the correct word as well. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. She says it to Hisoka, who she already kind of had this relationship with. She also brought him into the fandom troop, right? So she kind of felt massively betrayed. We do have the kind of color scheme, again, that sort of lilac-ish pinky color, and then the more hot pink for the autograph. And if you don't know Abby Trott's career, she of course voices Nezuko. I say voices because she's not really had too many words, right? A lot of grunts, but yeah, I had to add a Nezuko to my Demon Slayer collection, and I went with the most recent one. This scene, it kills me, man. I find it so emotional. It tears me up every time. Like, I've cried. I think I cried legit tears the first time I saw it when she conquers the sun. It's a spoiler, I apologize, but come on, guys, that happened like, what, two years ago now, even, I think. So I went with the quote, good morning, which that was an absolutely awful impression of, but yeah, it's kind of like her first words, right? Once she conquers the sun. We went with the color scheme, the kind of lime green and the pink, and we actually made it a hat trick of Abby Trott autographs. I finally got to complete this 2-pack. So Zach Aguilar, who voices Tanjiro in Demon Slayer, was at MCM Comic Con London, but I'd met him, I want to say 2.5 years ago at the very first Anime Con UK, where I got this sign, a couple other Tanjiros, Genos from One Punch Man, whatever other characters he voiced. And yeah, I was hoping like Abby Trott will eventually come. She came to Comic Con Scotland last year, and I was like, I just don't have the time to get up there and meet her. And then she got announced for MCM London, and I was like, awesome, you know, we'll get this sign and finally complete the 2-pack, and here it is. I think it looks amazing. So with Tanjiro, or I should say Zach Aguilar, I went with a quote, "No matter what it takes, your big brother will save you." And I was like, what can we go with Nezuko? As I said, she doesn't like really say too much, a lot of grunts, but there's like voiceover, there's kind of like flashbacks and stuff. And I thought like Tanjiro's quote on this one is quite like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if poetic is right, but it's kind of like a statement, like, you know, I'm going to protect you. So I wanted something similar, like Nezuko had said, even if it was kind of in her head. And so I went with "Humans are to be protected and saved. I will never hurt them." Again, in the lime green and then the pink autograph. I think the 2-pack looks amazing. Abby, yeah, how can I describe her? More than amazing. She is such a cool chick, man. I actually had to give her, well, I didn't have to, but I offered to give my lime green, would that be the correct color there? Because she didn't have one, so she said, "Do you mind if I do the quote in white, because my green one has died?" I was like, I actually do have one. And we proceeded to then have like a maybe 30-40 second conversation about paint pens, because she's very, very particular about them, which was pretty funny. The one thing I will say, I was super disappointed that, and not in her, but with Funko, because the Dun Funko Pops, they got delayed, and she of course voices Momo, who has become one of my favorite characters. I mean, Dun instantly became one of my favorite animes. I think it probably is in my top 10, to be honest. It's just so freaking funny. I love it. And I was like, yeah, I'm so sad they delayed the Pops, because I was like, there was a very legitimate chance to get the #1 signed this past weekend, because they have just started to drop in the US. I imagine they'll start dropping over here maybe in the next couple of weeks. I did ask if someone had somehow managed to get a sneaky one in, and she said no, but she did sign a window, but she refused to sign it as #1 because she feels it doesn't count. And I was like, I absolutely agree. And then she said not to worry, because she is going to be back in London. Now, I can't actually say this because she has since been announced, but yeah, she said, look, don't worry, I'll be back in London in January. And I already kind of knew what she was talking about. I was like, so you're going to be joining like AJ and Barbara? And she was like, yeah. And then she was like, maybe don't say anything, because I haven't been announced yet, so I don't know how that's going to go down. But she was actually announced earlier this week to be attending MegaCon London at the end of January. So yeah, we can go and add the Dun Funko Pops to that, which is cool, because I already mentioned AJ Beckles, who voices Okaroon, and Barbara Goodson, who voices Turbo Granny, are both there. I am hoping they do announce Kari Walgren, who voices Granny Seiko, because then you would complete that first wave of Dun on Funko Pop straight away, all at the same con, right? And Kari has actually been announced for MegaCon Dublin, which takes place the weekend before. AJ and Barbara are also attending that, and I know a lot of people in Dublin are hoping that Abby actually gets announced for Dublin. I'm hoping Kari then gets announced for London, taking place the following week, but we'll see how it goes. Either way, Abby, super duper cool. All right, we move from anime to animation. I finally got some X-Men 97 Funko Pop signed. Guys, the X-Men animated series as well as the Spider-Man animated series, two of my like childhood greatest memories in terms of cartoons. I was so stoked when they announced X-Men 97, and then there was a lot of stuff talked about, like it's going to be woke, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, in the lead up to the series, and then it blew everyone away. Like, so freaking amazing. And yeah, we actually have Jean Grey and the Goblin Queen, who are voiced by the same person, which is of course the legendary Jennifer Hale. If you guys didn't know, Jennifer has, I don't know if she still has it, but she certainly had the Guinness World Record for most, I can't remember the exact wording, it was like most roles for a voice actor. I don't know if it was for a female voice actor or if it was just voice actor overall, but she had that Guinness World Record. I mean, she's voiced so many characters. When I met her back in MCM Birmingham 2 years ago, actually, I think the same con I met Griffin Burns at as well, I got to sign my Bastilla Shan from Star Wars and my Kyoshi from Avatar The Last Airbender. I mean, she's voiced so many characters. I actually spoke to her about the animated Spider-Man series as well, because she voiced Felicia Hardy, who is of course Black Cat, and I said I'm really hoping that we get, like after the success of this, maybe we'll get a Spider-Man 98, and she was like in agreement. She said that would be amazing. The only thing I will say to that is, well, there's a couple of things, right? Because Sony still essentially has the rights to Spider-Man. Although I have heard rumors there may be like a sale back to what are they call now? Marvel Studios, I think, right? Which would be interesting. But yeah, in terms of like animation, I mean, you've got the Spider-Verse movies, which have been so successful. You've got the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which I think has kind of done okay, so I'm not sure we'll get another animated Spider-Man project kind of anytime soon, put it that way. But then they did actually make a Spider-Man 94 comic series, which I don't know if it was to conclude the animated series from the 90s or if it was just to kind of like continue it, because yeah, that came out in September, or did it come out before? I know a few issues have been released. I haven't personally read it, but I'm still holding out hope we may get an animated version of it one day. I think it would be so cool. Yeah, in terms of these pops, for Jean Grey, I kind of wanted to get them both quoted, but Jean Grey's quotes from X-Men 97 are pretty long. So in the end, I just went with the auto in yellow. She did the character name as well. For the Goblin Queen, though, I did actually get a quote here on the side. I think it's such a cool quote. I am scorn and fury, forged in righteous brimstone. I am the Goblin Queen. She said she agrees. She thinks it's an awesome quote, but she wanted to do it on the side because she wasn't sure she would be able to fit it all in. But yeah, I think when you like kind of measure it, I think she would have, right? Like, especially because the front window bit here is actually longer. So it is what it is. I don't mind if quotes are on the side, to be perfectly honest. I do prefer if they are on the front window because of the way I essentially display stuff, right? As you guys can see there, the Naruto stuff in behind. But it's honestly not the end of the world. We then went with the orange pen. I couldn't find my orange pen, so my one is kind of like a deeper orange, I guess a bit similar to that Pain, if you guys can see that in the background. She kind of had this lighter one, which it still came out pretty well. God knows what I did with my orange pen. But yeah, Jennifer Hale, awesome. And I should say, when I said I cannot wait for X-Men 97 Season 2, she said, trust me, you are not ready. So that made my anticipation go up even further. And I mentioned Mass Effect earlier, guys. Here we do have a Commander Shepard Funko Pop double sign. So Jennifer Hale did actually voice, did I mention that already? If I didn't, she actually did voice the female Commander Shepard in the game series. And then we have Mark Meer, who voiced the male version. So pretty happy to get this one double signed. I decided to go with a color scheme similar to the N7 logo. So we have Jennifer's here in the white and then Mark Meer's here in the red. I'll speak about Mark Meer because I've already spoken about Jennifer. Super cool dude. I said thank you so much for coming, Mass Effect. like I already alluded to it, pardon me, earlier in this video. One of my favorite video game series, multiple playthroughs. He said he's always so happy to hear when people say that. They did, I forgot to say actually, Jennifer had mentioned prior to this convention that she hasn't been contacted yet, because of course we know there is a new Mass Effect coming, but we don't know what it's going to be about. But she says she hasn't been contacted. I forgot to then ask Mark if it was kind of the same story, but I imagine it is. I don't even know if they're going to really continue the Commander Shepard storyline. I guess only time will tell, and I'm pretty sure that game's like 2-3 years away. But yeah, we spoke with Mark about like all types of games, and I said there's so much backlog for me, it's kind of rare for me to like play games over and over again, but Mass Effect is just one of them that I have. He mentioned that he loves going back playing older games as well, sometimes playthroughs after years, and I was like, yeah, I'm actually doing that right now with Far Cry 3. I discovered the classic edition after Xbox added Ubisoft Classic, isn't it? I really want them to add Ubisoft Plus, because that whole pricing kind of increase for Game Pass, it's a bit like, let's not get into that though. But yeah, so playing Far Cry 3 Classic Edition, one of my favorite, or probably is my favorite Far Cry of all time, to be honest. Yeah, it was just such a lovely dude to chat to, especially all things gaming. Yeah, would love to meet him again one day. And then we move on to the live action stuff, guys, and I got a trio of the boys Funko Pop signed. I should just point out as well that Laz Alonso was also at MCM Comic Con London, in addition to the three I'm about to show you. It's just I met him a couple years ago at, I think it was For Love of Sci-Fi. I think it was December 2020. You know what? Yes, it was the following day from MCM Birmingham. I went to MCM Birmingham on the Friday, and then I travelled up to Manchester for Love of Sci-Fi, the last one they did, yeah, back in December 2023. So I already had Mother's Milk signed, but we add these three new ones to the collection. This is Kimiko, signed by the wonderful Karen Fukuhara. I gotta say, call me a simp, she is drop dead gorgeous in person, guys, but she's so lovely. I would honestly say, you know, every voice actor I've ever met have been lovely. So I just think in general voice actors are lovely. But in terms of non-voice actors, you know, well, I guess regular actors, right? I was going to say hit and miss. That's completely unfair, because I've only ever had one or two interactions that weren't necessarily negative. They were just a bit like, really? Okay. I won't say who those are. I mean, I have said who they are on previous videos if you wanted to go and look back at some of my other signed collection videos. But yeah, in terms of non-voice actors, Karen may have been the nicest I've ever met. She was so talkative, smiley. You know, I started with the it's great to hear your voice, which I'm sure she's heard 10,000 times, so she still smiled through that. But yeah, just talking about the boys, talking about the comics as well. I was a big fan of the comics, to be honest. I think they've done a great job adapting. I'm kind of like, I feel this show is maybe better than the comics, to be honest. Like, they're two different mediums. The comics contain some like messed up stuff that I don't think you could ever get onto television. And it was great to hear like most of these guys had actually like read the comics, or at least perused some of it, to know kind of some of the things I was talking about. But yeah, Karen was just so lovely to talk to. I did actually get some quotes. You guys can see here, I want to protect my family. I actually went in with two quote choices, which was this one, and then the words that precede this. I can't quite remember what they were now. I think it's "You Are My Family Now" or something. It's in the scene when she's dancing with Frenchie and talks about wanting to, you know, take Compound V again, so she can essentially have the powers to protect her family. We spoke about that scene, how emotional it was, and just generally what a great character Kimiko is. And yeah, gotta say, what a great person Karen Fukuhara is. But to be fair, I could say the exact same thing for Toma Capone. Such an awesome dude. You know, presented his hand straight away. Not all guests do that, and it honestly doesn't bother me. I just think it's kind of like a nice little touch. But yeah, I get it. Sweaty cotton hands and all that, right? But yeah, super cool dude. I did actually get a quote on this one as well, but he wrote it on the side. I went with the "What if she's a Spice Girl?" He absolutely laughed. Said it's such a cool quote. I had that one and the one where he says, "No, my cake hole will remain open." 'Cause I think Butcher tells him to shut his cake hole. But I went with the Spice Girl one, and you guys will know in just a second why. But yeah, he laughed, and then yeah, again spoke to him about the my love of the boys comic book series. I mean, Garth Ennis is my favourite writer of all time. Spoke about Preacher, which was cool. He was speaking about Preacher as well, so it's always awesome when you know these guys are kind of like fans of the source material as well, right? And I mentioned to him, because I had a colleague who was a French-Hungarian guy years ago who was the spitting image of Frenchie in the comics. And I was like, do you remember the scene on the, is it Lansing? I think it's Lansing, isn't it? And he's got a baguette. And it's just like this crazy thing on a bicycle. And he gets defeated with the, like, baguette Lansing thing. If you guys know the comic book, you know what I'm talking about. And I said, the thing is, I could always just imagine my colleague doing that. And, you know, we kind of shared a laugh and whatnot. Again, sort of mentioned about how there's a lot of messed up stuff in the comic books that you can never bring to TV. And he was like, yeah, but like this last season, we've really pushed the envelope. And he said he's still got like PTSD from it. So, yeah, I'm kind of like, what on earth have they got planned for this final season? I can't wait. And last but certainly not least, guys, Billy Butcher himself was in the house, Carl Urban. I was actually first in the queue, which is really, really cool. Very strange though, because I wasn't a like VIP pass holder. And no VIPs showed up. I mean, I got it done on the Friday. In fact, I got all my signings bar 2 done on the Friday. So it was pretty cool to kind of get all of that out the way. But yeah, first in the queue. And I will say, before I talk about meeting Carl and the quote and whatnot, there was a bit of a, how do I describe it? Like, messed up situation. Well, actually, no, let me describe it, because you guys can see there is a swear word on it. It was a fucked up situation, to be honest. So the agent came out before Carl arrived to do all the sightings, and they had kind of discussed the pricing and things like that. And yeah, the price list went up, and he had been advertised at £95 on the website, like straight price, right? Agent comes out, and you get all these different costs being added on for a selfie, for a quote, and that was stuff that I expected. And then he added on costs for a collectible. Again, it is maybe something I somewhat expected, but it was plus £30. And when everyone was saying, what do you consider a collectible? They were like, it's anything that's not an 8x10 that the con provides. This then saw everyone in the line. I don't think there was anyone who wasn't upset. I was umming and ahhing, because I was like, well, if I do get a quote which was an extra £75 on my Funko Pop, it's going to be like £200. And I was like, that is pretty steep, to be honest. I was like, you know, Carl doesn't really do too many cons. I think if you were to buy that off a reseller or something, it's way upwards of £300+. So I was like, let's do it. So I got it done. £200, auto quote, and Funko. As you guys see the quote I went with, they're the goddamn fucking Spice Girls. That's kind of why I then got the Frenchie Spice Girls quote as well. Just one of my favorite things. Obviously that whole quote and speech is a lot longer, but no way that would have been fit onto the pop. But yeah, that was the thing. You kind of left the queue and there was a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. And then luckily some dude in Carl Urban's crowd had seen me when I joined Frenchie's queue, and he was like, oh mate, they're actually refunding the collectible price because everyone had challenged it and complained about it. And I was like, what? So I went back to Carl's queue, and like a lot of the MCM crew members, I kind of know, not personally, but, you know, I've spoken with them and yeah, communicate. Well, spoken and communicate is the same word. You guys know what I'm trying to say. With these same people for multiple shows over multiple years. So you kind of know the faces, somewhat the names as well. And yeah, they were like apologetic. They even agreed. One of the dudes who I've met so many times there, he was like he felt the pricing was ridiculous, just to add that on, but there's nothing they can do about that. It's what the agents decide. I don't know if the agent then made the change, if Carl made the change, whatever. You know, however it did end up getting changed. But yeah, I went back and they gave me my money straight back, that extra £30 for a collectible, which was pretty cool. But yeah, it was all a bit like, yeah, it didn't leave the best kind of taste in your mouth. But to still get the money back in the end was pretty cool, I gotta say, and especially with them honouring it. But then, yeah, if someone actually had like left the queue and never came back, you know, you were essentially down £30, I'm afraid. But yeah, meeting Carl, he wasn't as chatty as Toma or Karen. It's kind of what I expected. But again, he came straight out. He presented his hand. He was like, I'm Carl, what's your name? You know, we spoke about the show. Again, I'm just kind of repeating myself in terms of the like saying I was a fan of the comics and whatnot, kind of saying the same things. And I was like, I'm almost kind of not ready for it to end. I don't know if you feel the same way. And he was like, you don't want to like push things too far to the point where it's like, you know, no one likes it anymore. And he was like, he kind of feels it is a good spot to end it, essentially. And I was like, yeah, maybe he's right. I don't know. We'll see how that final season goes. With the way everyone's been talking about this like crazy stuff that's in there, you know, Toma saying he's got PTSD still. I know that's more a joke, but I'm really looking forward to the final season, especially to see what they do with Butcher. If you guys have read the comics, you might know what happens with the character. So yeah, I'm very interested, cannot wait. And yeah, Carl Urban, super awesome dude. And another super awesome dude was Joseph Quinn, who did actually have his own enclosed booth, unlike any of the other guests at the con. Someone did tell me he was sick. He kind of had like flu-like symptoms, an eye infection, and he actually was kitted out with like a jacket, a hat, and some glasses when he was doing his signings, but he took all of that off when he did the photo ops. So I'm not sure how true that was, because he didn't really sound that sick to me, I have to say. And you kind of feel if that was the case, he may have cancelled. So I don't know. Either way, they moved the queue along really, really quickly. So the interaction with Joseph was maybe like 10 seconds. Yeah, I just pretty much said to him, this must seem like a lifetime ago for you, with all the roles he's had since Eddie. And I can't remember what he said verbatim, but it was along the lines of, you know, you can't really take anything for granted. Yeah, I honestly can't remember what he said. He said it was something about things go by in a flash and you just can't take anything for granted. And like he was happy with to have like been involved with Stranger Things. And of course it really helped propel his career, right? The performance he gave with a character that became so beloved from that 4th season. He also actually presented his hand to me. Like I never really go for like handshakes. I may do fist bumps, you know, unless the guest kind of like initiates the contact, if that makes sense. And I'd seen like Joseph wasn't like handshaking or fist bumping anyone, but yeah, I ended our conversation with, I was so awesome to meet you, dude. And he then presented his hand to me. So yeah, got to shake Joseph Quinn's hand, which was pretty cool. I mean, it sounds like I'm being starstruck and a bit of a simp and whatever. I promise you I don't get like that. And last but certainly not least, guys, I did get both my Punisher and Shane Walsh Funko Pop signed by the great John Bernthal. Such a cool dude, man. Just the way he walked in that Saturday morning. So I was first in his queue, but this time the VIPs did come out. I would say there was only like 6 or 7 of them in front of me. But yeah, the way he kind of walked out with his shades, he just has this aura. He's so badass. He whacked on some music. It was kind of like heavy metal at first, and they sort of changed it up to hip hop. But yeah, again, he was another who presented himself like handshake straight away, say, hey, I'm John, what's your name? Nice to meet you. You just always feel a bit more welcome. And I will also say John did not upcharge for Funkos. He did not upcharge for quotes. It was just super, super amazing to meet him. It's always nice when they don't like upcharge you anything, right? I will say though, because a friend of mine asked me to get him 2 Punishers signed, and then one of the guys who I know at MCM, who was actually managing Joseph's line, had said, would you be able to grab me a Punisher as well? And I was like, wow, now I've suddenly got like 5 Funko Pops to get signed. And I did feel at maybe once he got to like the 4th one, John was kind of a bit like, yeah, is this guy like selling these? Do you know what I mean? Because like the 4th one, he didn't toss it down, but he kind of dropped it sort of on the table and like slid it across, and it was like, oh yeah, is he getting a bit kind of peed off? But, you know, I'd mentioned to him, look, for the Punisher, I'm so glad they brought you back. Yeah, Punisher is my 2nd favourite Marvel character after Spider-Man. I don't know what that says about me, to be honest, but I just always loved the Punisher, even from a young age. I remember my brother had this comic book and I was like, who is this badass guy with this massive knife and this huge skull on his chest? This guy just looks awesome. And then, of course, yeah, over the years, the other movies and just reading comic. I mentioned Garth Ennis before. He also wrote my favorite run on Punisher, hence why he's my favorite comic book author of all time. But yeah, he said, oh, I really thank you and appreciate you for saying that. That's very kind of you. I went with a couple of quotes because I wasn't sure he was doing quotes. So I actually had to prepare these in the queue once it was announced like he would be doing them. So I got people I kill need killing. I think the quote is actually the people I kill. And I think I did write that down, but I don't know, he just wrote people I kill need killing. His signature as well always kind of looks like it just says JR. I think it obviously is supposed to be JB, at least I think so. And then for all his Punishers, he does actually draw this kind of little kind of skull thing here on the side. Sometimes I've seen it is down here. If it wasn't for the chase sticker, he may have drawn it down here. For one of the other Punishers that I got signed, he did draw it down there. And then for Shane Walsh, I was like, what quote should we go for? And I always kind of like the one, they're not people, they're dead. And then happy to add this to the Walking Dead collection. I haven't got so many Walking Dead signed, to be honest, which is a little bit weird because so many of those guys are doing cons now. The funny thing, though, is I guess he was just kind of in the zone because he then drew the kind of Punisher symbol here on the side. I was tempted to like maybe try and add a tongue or something, make it a bit more zombie-like, but then I was like, I could probably ruin it. But yeah, John, as I said, super awesome, super lovely dude, has that aura, mega cool badass. Yeah, if they ever make the Bear Funko Pops, I absolutely freaking love that show as well. I would definitely get one of those signed. Definitely would love to meet him again one day. And there we go, guys. That is my complete signed Funko Pop haul from MCM Comic Con London. 14 new ones into the collection, if you count the 2-pack, which I do. It's a new signature, right? Very, very happy. Be sure to let me know in the comment section below if you attended MCM Comic Con London. Did you yourselves get anything signed? And we'll be doing it all over again in just 2 weeks' time at Comic-Con Liverpool. But with all that said, guys, I really do appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, please do give us the thumbs up, hit that like button, it really does help. Make sure to check out some of our other content at the links below, including that vlog. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace out, nerds.